But I am so tired. And I've gotten in my Lyft, and now my Lyft driver is playing all this gospel music, which I'm fine with because I love the Lord. But like, I am so sick of God just not like giving me direct like answers about things and like direct guidance. I'm so tired. I need him to stop speaking to me through like riddles and lessons and shit because I'm not this strong. Just say it. Whatever happened to a burning bush? Whatever happened to just bringing the message directly through an angel or something? I'm tired of having to learn things through all of these riddles and tests and quizzes and shit. I am not a good student. Just tell me what you want me to do because I'm tired. I'm tired of not doing right with work. I'm tired of not doing right with content. I'm tired of not doing right in romance. I'm doing my best, bro. Just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it.
Just so yesterday I went to like this Christian singles mingling thing with my church. Guys, I left literally like, yeah, these streets, it's hard out there. Like, it's hard. Us single girls, it's hard out there. Like, it's hard. It was a lot. Like, it wasn't like negatively a lot. It was just like, I don't know, like I just find a lot of the men these days, I don't know, are you shy? Like, I need to know, are you shy? Because I don't know, like there's a lot of like girls like hanging around. Like, we all went there for the same intentions. We all want to like get to know people, especially in like the right like circumstance and things like that. It was a good environment, but a lot of the men were moving stursh. Not gonna lie, it was giving stursh. Like, and also I did feel like at one point I was in the wild hunting for my prey. Do you know what I mean? Like, it did feel like that. Like, I don't know, like, it's just, does no one want to socialize anymore? Does no one want to meet anyone new? Because, guys, I'm 28. I'm not getting any younger. I'm not getting any younger. And it's slim pickings out there. It's giving that, yeah. Other than that, it was good. I love that the church encouraged you to meet people. Like, I love that. But the event, when I left, I was like, wow, I'm really single. And no one's mingling. Yeah. All you guys in your comfort relationships, stay in your relationships. It's not nice in these streets. It's not nice. Stay happy, stay cozy, stay locked up.
Hey, how y'all doing? What's going on, sister? How are you?
How are you? Hey.
What's going on, sister?
Hey.
Y'all doing all right?
Good evening.
Hey, sister, you doing okay?
Girl, I'm good. How are you?
Oh. Any men been here so far?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So I found this video, out actually on YouTube, and I was checking it out, and it was basically talking about Christian men refuse to go to Christian singles events. And so, many of you know, a little bit of my background is that I actually work with a group that does events. So I'm always very curious about that. And then I just left an event a couple of months ago, that I actually did a review on a couple of days ago. And I'll put that, picture up so you can go check that out if you are interested. Now, with that being said, I wanted to see, what this particular person, was talking about. So I watched their video and I kind of get a little bit about what, this particular person was saying. But honestly, I have to, again, be balanced about it. I have to be fair about it. And again, this is just another person that's pushed in the social media algorithm, ultimately, because while he did find some videos to kind of back up his statement, that's always been my point. You can almost always find something to back up your statement. But just like you all saw in the very final video that I put up, I could also find, videos to back up my statement and or to show a different reality. So again, I think it's very important, for us to keep balanced with the information. But I also understand, like I say, people are making money and they generally going to go down whatever path is more dramatic, because a more dramatic path is going to yield them more money, right? And if money is somebody's goal, then hey, you got to do your hustle the way you are, but that's not necessarily my goal over here. When it comes to men showing up at Christian singles events, so I'm going to drop this down to Christian singles events. And when we say Christian here, we're basically going in with the understanding that most people at this event are going to do their very best to try to do things God's way, okay? Which generally means that they're going to be more apt to go to church. They're going to be more apt to want to read their Bible. They're going to be, more concerned about marriage, at the end of maybe a year or two. And definitely they're going to be more leaning into abstinence. All right. And I know that not all Christians will lean into abstinence, but I know that's going to be a struggle, like I said, that these people will basically be working with, right? So I'm going in with that mindset, okay, first. So this is not, for the man that's basically saying, hey, I do go to church every blue moon, but, I ain't about to be abstinent. Or a woman that's basically saying, yeah, I love Jesus, but, when it comes to, getting mine, I got to get mine. Okay, because again, that kind of, sways, everything. And I don't think that like I said, that gets to a point where you can't compare apples to apples. And you're starting, to compare, maybe red delicious apples, to Fuji apples, to something else. I mean, it gets so many little details that we get all over the place. But again, I've told you all before, the internet loves that because that's how they build most of their arguments. And that's how they, build up the drama. And, which basically goes into worry, concern, and fear, that people feel, right? So when I'm talking about somebody that is attempting to do right. I'm not saying they're going to be perfect, but I'm saying they're attempting to do right, right? So when you are dealing with those people, this is what I can tell you by doing the events myself, by going to events. I can tell you that there will always be more women than men, always. But that ratio is going to change depending upon the way that the event is presented, okay? So like I say, CSC's been around for about 4 years. We've done a lot of different events. Like I said, my church that I go to has done singles events. I've been invited to several events by other people that knew, that I was, a Christian single. So they actually invited me to events that other people were doing. And so by the time you put it all together, I have seen a lot of events, and we're here in Atlanta. And so again, that's going to be different where you are. Okay. But I can say in Atlanta, you're basically going to be looking at, on average, at these events, somewhere between 3 women for 2 men, all the way up to, at extremes, somewhere all the way up to maybe 12 to 15 women for every 1 man. And it generally depends, again, upon the way that the particular event is set up. So, for instance, I had somebody to invite me out to a particular event earlier this year. And this year primarily catered to millennials. Okay. And I didn't even know about the event. Again, this was something I was invited to. And when I came into that event, I would probably say there might have been at least 2 women for every 1 man. That's probably what it was, something around 2 to 1, which is not bad. I mean, back in the day, that's what people thought was a good turnout because women generally prefer to have more women there than men, just in case, stuff, goes crazy or whatever. But then a lot of women feel like, okay, there's enough men for them to actually talk to, and actually, get to know. right? So that's the first part. And then the most dramatic I've ever seen is in, the Sexist Tribe, like I talked about before in my review. And the Sexist Tribe was definitely close to 12-1. Okay, it was definitely up there. But again, let's think about these different types of Christians. So in one group, okay, these are just young Christians coming out. Most of them know each other. They've been hanging out in different Christian, maybe Bible studies, different things like that. These are not people that are basically saying 100% that they're going to do their best to follow, God's way 100%. Not to say that they are lukewarm Christians, but they basically have decided, to allow certain things in their life versus this other group, okay, there's going to be a lot more down the line. They're trying to really live holy, and different things like that. And when you start to deal with men, okay, especially men that feel like they have options, a lot of them, unless, like I said, God is truly coming to their life, they're not going to line up, as much with the abstinent side. And that's what, you see, because even with the Sexist Tribe, like I said in that particular review video, most of the people there were millennials, primarily in their 30s, right? So both sets, most of the people there were in their 30s, but the difference was in the context of how they were setting up the group and setting up the event. Okay. And like with Christian Singles Connect, one of the things that I learned was that if you have or go to places that cost a lot of money, that tend to be a little bit more fancy, you get more women. Because women, generally lean more into ambiance and different things like that. But if you just say, hey, let's go hang out or let's do an activity, you get a lot more men. So again, it's depending upon the way that you set up your event is going to actually be who shows up. And when I've talked about, singles events before, I've kind of made that distinction. Now, when you start to look at singles events in general, again, I think a lot of people online, they're really trying to push this narrative that men are no longer going to these events. And that's period. Not even just talking about Christian, that's just talking about period. And again, I would say both yes and no to that. Because if somebody is doing their proper advertising and they're actually, lining their event up to something that a lot of men may find to be fun and enjoyable, okay, you're going to get more men to show up. And I've said this before, like if a woman is putting an event together, I don't think she should do it, with blinders or in a vacuum. She really has to cater more to men. And I know that is a difference. That's one of the differences between, over the last 10 to 15 years is because now you really do have to cater to men to get them to come out. Where before, I do believe there was more of a push for you to cater to women, get them to come out, and then the men are going to follow the women. So all of that being said, okay, and I want to make sure I start there. All that being said, we have to talk about where the real problem is. Okay. And, actually the video that, like I say, spurred me on this video, actually briefly talked about it. And that's the key. And this is, like I say, the main thing that a lot of men, period, are talking about. And as more men talk to each other, this is going to become more and more of a thing. Right. Okay. And so this is just simply what it is. I've told you all before. Most men, okay, but this for the ladies that are watching, most men are not these super playeristic, go up to any woman type of men. Most men want you to make eye contact with them. They want you to kind of look their way, smile, something like that. That is what they prefer. Now, many men will still come up to you, especially if it's an event like that, and they will try to talk to you or whatever, especially if it's like a speed dating, because at that point they're kind of forced to. But in general, that is not what the average man does. And that is the part of the narrative that I really wish more of these influencers would actually be out there saying, because that's the side that a lot of women don't get. And when you have people like Steve Harvey that, they're still ringing in their ears because it's still out here on YouTube, so they're watching these old videos. And then you have other influencers that are just swearing up and down that men are these chasers, that men love to chase. But I'm always saying, no, that the men that love to chase are the very men, okay, that you want to avoid. And that's about 15 to 20% of the men that exist in the world. Again, I am going to refer you to Proverbs 5 and Proverbs 7. And when you look at that, even when you kind of flip it for, to talk, directly to women, you see in that it's the smooth talking man that comes out and he wants to basically do this work, to do that, to talk to women all the time. But it basically, like I say, if you read through the context, you're dealing with a man that's not doing what normal men do. Okay, and when they're talking about this in this way, it's basically saying, building a house or working on their dreams or working on their goals. And that's why most men that talk to men are basically, as far as the influencers are concerned, are basically telling men, don't chase women, get on your grind. Work your hustle. Because what a lot of those men have found is that when they're working their grind and they're working their hustle, women see them working their hustle, and then those women start to get close to those men. Does this make sense? So women are attracted to men that are working. Women are attracted to men that are doing the hustle, that are doing the things that men normally do, right? And so there's a whole another subset of men that have figured this out. And see, the lie that has really been told to women is that, like I said, that men are these chasers, that men are going out, that they want to do this to you and all this other kind of stuff. And again, that's not true. What we see in the past is that women would always make it known to the man that they wanted to talk to. Yes, a man might flirt with you. Yes, a man every once in a while will come up to you. And because you're a woman, just being a woman, you're going to get attention. And so you might feel like, oh, all these men have been doing this all these years. But no, there's always a subset of men that really don't do that often, right? Because either they don't feel comfortable with it, they don't have the background to do it, or whatever it is. And I'm always using myself as an example on everything to let people kind of know how this works. When I was married, I met my ex-wife literally on the first day of college. That I literally met her right then. And when I was in high school, I was always on my grind. Like anybody talk to you would tell you about my high school. I had like 3 businesses in high school. Okay, plus I was also class president. So I was basically doing stuff all the time in high school. So I dated like 1 or 2 girls, but it was never really major. And so then I came into college, right? And in college, boom, right off the rip, I met, who would be my wife. So I, just wasn't that dude that was out there trying to be with everybody. I was just working my grind. And my ex was, that type of woman that, was just chill out with me, hang out with me as I'm working my grind. Right. So then we got married, boom, boom, boom. And then once I got my divorce, now I'm on the other side. So while guys were out there basically learning, okay, how to talk to women from ages, we'll just say all the way back as early as 15, maybe all the way up to 25, 30 or whatever it is, or still in continuation, they just knew how to talk to women. They were very comfortable with it because they've been doing it all this time. And what was very surprising to me is I'm coming out here, I pretty much had what most women are looking for. I'm the marriage type of guy, okay, and I want that, but I found that I was having a lot more struggles with talking to women, right? And the reason why was because, again, I wasn't used to it. It wasn't that I didn't have what the woman needed / wanted. It was just simply because I just wasn't used to it. It's like I've told you all before. If I've gone through my whole life or the last 10, 15 years and I haven't played basketball, okay, do I really think that I'm going to get on a court, okay, with people that's been out there playing for the last 10 years? And that's exactly how you have to look at the dating community. Even women are on the court. They're on the court. They're playing the court. They're actually out there and they're dribbling and shooting and stuff like that. So now I'm coming out of retirement, so to speak, and I'm picking up a basketball for the first time, like I said, in 20 years. So now as I'm basically even trying to dribble, my arm doesn't have the strength to keep the dribble going. But the more I'm out there and the more I'm dribbling and the more I'm learning, then I'm starting to get back into it. And some of the things start to come, naturally, as far as the form of the way my body needs to shoot and different things like that. But then there's other things like the muscles that have to get back in rhythm. So we can kind of understand this. So really, men, and this is why I'm always telling women, men that are very good at dating, that are very good at talking to you, 9 times out of 10 is because they've been on the court for the last 20 years. And that's why they're good. And those are generally, like I said, the main men that most women need to leave alone. It's the same thing for a lot of men. A lot of men, and I think more men are learning this because this is what social media is teaching, men, that a lot of the women out here that look so good and they're moving so good and they know what to say and all this other kind of stuff, many times are the very women you need to leave alone. Okay, because again, these women have been dribbling and they've been on this doggone court for, 20 years and nobody really has decided to pull them off the court. Or if they pull them off the court, they might pull them off for 6 months and then they put them back on it, right? So we have to look at all of these things. And that's why I say it's so important to see the bigger picture if you really want to understand what's going on. Now, again, you go to these events. And remember what I'm always saying. Go to the places where you are appreciated. Date the people that like you. Okay, that goes before anything else. So if you have men and 20 men come into this dating event, right? And let's say there's 50 women and all 20 of them leave out with a woman that is equivalent to their beauty, status, money, whatever, and they leave with at least one number, all those men gonna come back and they're gonna tell their friends and then the friends gonna come back. But if only the attractive men walk away with numbers, or only the men with a lot of money, walk away with numbers, then those men may or may not come back. But the bottom line is the rest of them that got nothing, they're definitely not coming back. And they're going to basically tell their friends it ain't worth it. Why should I pay $35 or $50 or whatever it is to get into these events? Because none of them are free. Okay. And then see the same stares that I get all the time as I'm walking around, which basically is the stare of, I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone, from women. Okay. And then, after all of it, like I say, they go home empty-handed. Why in the world would a man want to continue to go through that over and over and over again? And then once you start to calculate in things, like I talk about this every blue moon, but things like testosterone. All right. And remember, a man's testosterone levels lower as he gets older. So in his teens, that's when it's the highest. So his teens, he's going crazy. He just wants to do his best to try to get with a woman. By the time he's in his 20s, it's still high. It's still very high. So he's still willing to do a lot of stuff. By the time he gets into his 30s, he's kind of, on the fence. He could hang out. He could not hang out. By the time he's in his 40s, he could take it or leave it. Okay, by the time he's in his 50s, he really don't care. And see, all these things are happening all at the same time. Meanwhile, again, you have people that are dating in ways that is even higher level than what is actually normal. Because again, that's what a lot of men have been arguing about, is that a lot of women are basically dating based off romance films, based off of TV shows, based off books, and they're not allowing for men to be normal. Like I've said, you got, and it's kind of funny because everybody talks about women want this 666 man, which is kind of funny, especially on a Christian channel to talk about it. But when we look at the six figures, most men make under $50,000, especially black men. They make under $50,000. That's most black men. Most of them. So if a woman is watching this particular video right now and you're saying, well, I want a black man, well, I'm just letting you know that the average one makes under $50,000. You say, well, I don't want him. I'll get me a white man. Fine. The average white man makes around $52,000. It's only like maybe $5,000 or $6,000 difference between a black man and a white man. Well, I'll go get me an Asian man. Well, it doesn't matter. The average person, period, man, period, in America makes roughly $50,000. Okay, that is reality. Okay, so the first 6, you got to remove it if you want to date well. The next thing is the next 6, the height. The average height is 5'9". That's in America. So you're trying to get to 6'2", because most women don't want 6 foot, they want 6'2". So they're trying to get to 6'2", where the average height is 5'9". Okay? So again, you see how this is working. In fact, before I started this channel, there was a guy that I was watching a lot, and he would always put up the literal statistics. And I used to do that, do that a long time ago. But honestly, it takes so much time to go through it. But if you basically, as a woman, look at, okay, I want a man that is at that 6-figure level. That's 15% of the population. 15% of men make $100,000 or more. And again, when you really look at it, because of inflation and stuff like that, $100,000 doesn't even do what you need it to do anymore. In fact, a man will have to make at least $150,000 for you to really be like a stay-at-home mom. Okay, and be comfortable. Now, people can do it at $50,000, but to be at that comfort where you could, get you a bag every once in a while and have, more of a luxury type of vehicle, he's probably going to need to be at that 150 level. And 150, you're talking about 10% of the population. Okay, so now you say, okay, I want him to be 6 feet tall or 6'2" or whatever it is. So again, the average man is at 5'9". So now if you're hopping all the way up to 6 foot tall, again, you're cutting off a lot of the population. Okay, so you might get 20% of the leftover men of that 10%. So now you're getting 20% of 10%. So now you're down to 2% of the male population. 2%. Okay, and then if you have any other types of things, like you want him dark skinned, you want him to still have his hair, you want him to have a beard or not have a beard, you want him to be Christian and truly Christian. Okay, now you're getting yourself to the point where you could be less than 1%. And that is reality. And then you have to figure out whether or not you qualify for that man. Because, you might get a lot of attention, but that doesn't necessarily mean you qualify for him. All right? Because men at that level, they get a lot of women to throw themselves at them. And again, you start to waste your time and you're burning through your energy. And again, what I've always encouraged women to do, focus in on a man's mind and on his heart. I said you can clean up a little bit of the outside, but that does not mean that you're going to get everything you want on the outside. Now, I do recognize that most women that are going to lean into how he looks are generally going to be your instinct-driven women and your heart-based women. Okay, because heart-based women can kind of romanticize. And so because of that, if they're caught up in that, they can do it. And if you are double, like an instinct heart or a heart instinct, you're probably one of those women that's kind of frustrated by what I'm saying right now, because that kind of messes up, what you're looking for. But don't feel too bad, because men can go through the same thing. But again, let's get back to the point. The point of it is, so you have to look at all those factors, all that information. And then that's when you ask yourself, why aren't more men showing up at singles events? And when it all boils down to it, men will show up, okay, when they get attention. But when the type of woman that a man has dated his whole life, now all of a sudden he sees her at an event, he tries to talk to her at the event, she won't talk to him at the event. And he's like, well, maybe that was just her. But then he sees another woman that's kind of on the level that he's used to talking to. And he does that a couple of times. What ends up happening, he says, you know what? These women either are not checking for me, or I just need to go somewhere else. And slowly but steadily, that's what men do. And that's why I'm always trying to tell women, because there's this a small movement online that's always trying to say, trying to encourage women, oh, don't worry about it. These men ain't going nowhere. And I will even agree to that to a degree, to a point. Okay, because there are some men that, despite what they say, they're almost always going to line up and just kind of do what they've always done. But you have another subset of men Okay, and that's why I'm always breaking people up into pieces, because I don't want us to look at all of the black men in the United States or whatever it is, or even Africans or Caribbeans or even white men, right? I want to see them individually, not see them always as this big whole. But men are going to go to, like I say, to where they are appreciated if they can figure out how to do it. And I've said this before. I have 2 friends right now, and both of them are technically passport bros. Okay, they are technically that, but they're not moving like most of the passport bros move. Okay, they're going about it slightly differently, and through that, they're searching for a certain type of woman, okay, that will come into their lives, right? And see, this is the type of thing that I'm trying to, kind of let people know. But again, when you're dealing with these Christian men, these Christian events, there are going to be men there. Ladies, you don't really have to worry about it. There's going to be men there. And while I know a lot of men out there, they might want me to beat up on the women and stuff like that, I'm trying to be fair about it. Okay. And I will say it's going to be hard for some of these women because, again, they have really great men in front of them and they don't always snatch them up. Like I say, I've always said it. There are men at your church. They're straight up men at your church. And I think that's why so many men that, that follow my channel and some of the other channels are so frustrated, because they feel it. They're literally feeling the pain. And I'm not saying with an average looking dude with average money and average lifestyle and stuff like that should be able to get with a girl that's a 10 out of 10. Because I'll be quick to tell him that, nah, that ain't your chick. And if you do get with her, she's probably going to hurt you, and try to spend all your money. But I do feel like there's a balance to it, right? And again, I had a video I was thinking about doing pretty soon, so I might throw it up. But I basically ran into another video on Instagram. There was this woman who decided to, create an OnlyFans account. And within a very small amount of time, she actually made like $1 million. And a lot of women kind of, might be looking at me crazy, through, the camera right now as far as YouTube is concerned, especially because of the nature of my channel. But the point I'm trying to make is any of you that's following me right now, any woman that's following me right now, you can take pictures of your feet, take pictures of your hand, whatever you think is the most beautiful part of you, and you create an OnlyFans account or you create an Instagram account, and trust me, within a very small amount of time, you're going to have a lot of men following you, watching you, different things like that.
We're going to just start an OnlyFans. In 48 hours, how much money did you make?
48 hours, made a little over $1 million.
Okay, any woman can do it. Any woman. This is not, that's why I'm always trying to tell women, just because you get a lot of attention, it doesn't mean anything. The only thing that matters, and I know this is going to hurt, okay, and I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to, like I said, just like I've gone through this, I'm trying to be real so that we can get to, to some solutions. But the only thing that matters is, does he want to marry you? That is it. That is it. And I've tried to explain that to you all over and over and over again. I have guy friends that if they're even halfway standing next to a woman, they're going to get the woman's number. And this is why a lot of you get upset when the man doesn't call you the next day. Because at the end of it, he didn't really like you. You were just there. And that's how men kind of deal with women's beauty. They just kind of join. They don't necessarily care about supporting her and all this other kind of stuff. It's just, she's here. She's right there. But the women that men care about, they're going to wife up. And there's a lot of beautiful women that are out here in this dating pool, and they don't understand, why they can't get wifed up. But men don't wife up the outside. And if they do, they are the biggest simps in the world. Which ain't got no, and when I say simp, I'm using it simp plus loser plus ain't got nothing going on in their life plus don't understand women. Because that is the only man that's going to wife up a woman based off her beauty. When it boils down to it, he is going to wife you up based off this and off this. Okay? And that's it. And you should be husbanding him up based off this and off this and not off this and not off this. Right? And that's why I'm always telling women, you marry the man's vision. Don't marry his money. You marry his vision. His vision will tell you whether or not he's going to have money. Okay? But if he doesn't have the energy to be, you know, that engine going down those railroad tracks, you know, he ain't going to have it. That's just what it is. All right? So we got to keep it balanced. All right. Anyway, please like, please subscribe, and I'm going to see you all in the very next video.